This episode of the AI XR podcast is brought to you by Zapper, the folks behind Mattercraft, the leading visual development environment for building immersive 3D web experiences for mobile, headsets, and desktop. Mattercraft combines the power of a game engine with the flexibility of the web and now features an AI assistant that helps you design, code, and debug in real time right in your browser. Whether you're a dev, designer, or just getting started, Mattercraft speeds up your workflow and brings your 3D ideas to life faster than ever. Start building smarter at mattercraft.io. Good morning, everybody. I'm Charlie Fink with Ted Chilowitz and Roni Abovitz for the AI XR podcast. It's Friday, October 3rd, 2025. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Morning.
Well, we have a great show set up today. First, lots of great news, and then we're going to be talking with Tony Skarred Ghost Vitillo,
Yes.
the legendary XR blogger and developer. He's a wonderful guy. I know him well. I can't believe, Ted, I cannot believe we have never had him on this podcast.
Wow, that's funny because I've done so many recordings with him, and I know you have too at various trade shows and stuff, that in my mind, I thought we've had him on our podcast, but only it's been the other way. He's always done recordings with me at AWE and Venice Film Festival and various places where we're around the world, but there you go.
We'll look forward to chatting with him. But let me give you some great news. We finally figured out the name of the new Samsung headset, heretofore known as Moohan. And any guesses? Galaxy XR. So obvious.
Pretty straightforward, right?
So obvious. In other news, the bad juju that we pointed at our friends at Apple and the Apple Vision Pro seems to have had some effect, along with bad sales and a chorus of criticism from everybody. They are pivoting, or at least shifting resources toward AI smart glasses, just as Meta is. They are behind in this. I think they sunsetted this effort and decided a couple of years ago to focus on the Vision Pro, and now they're switching back.
Yeah, this is the biggest non-surprise surprise of all time, because I think we certainly all knew that they were heading in this direction. That I think the most instinctive stuff, which we all sort of talk about, is that the full cover your face headset certainly is a marvel and valuable in very much, strong ways, but it's a niche product and it'll likely always be a niche product, right? It is not the iPhone of the future. The iPhone of the future, if there is one, is something that is transparent, that has the right form factor, the right style quotient, and is moving in the direction, at least for the current time, of glasses, until we see what someone else comes up with that, may actually take that to the next level.
I'll tell you what's not surprising to me at all. Without getting into too much detail, one of the leads, a very top technical lead at Meta in the AR, used to be one of my top leads at Magic Leap, and there's a number of leapers there. But also one of the top system design leads at Apple is a former leaper who has a bunch of Magic Leap folks. So it's like they divided up different Magic Leap people, but based on who those people are, I can almost predict exactly what's going to come out the other side, because I know those people well, the leads well, and who they took. So the ability to predict what's coming out of Apple, and by the way, it's going to be bizarrely similar, because the lead at Apple and lead at Meta used to work side by side.
Right. Well, you were always ahead of the curve on this stuff, Roni. So you had the right vision.
But it's also weird how they split into two camps, and those camps commingled. But the lead of one used to be a leaper, the lead of another used to be a leaper. So be interesting to see what happens. But I have a pretty good guess at what's coming out of both sides.
With a display?
Yes.
A binocular display.
That I'm not sure about. I think the person leading it that I know at Apple would be absolutely in favor of like a very well done, like more than just stereo, like doing it right. But it's not clear that the overlords at Apple are going to agree to the amount that it would take to do that right. So we might see something lesser. But I know the person there, I know the person at Meta, the person at Apple, both know what good looks like.
But I think in terms of a differentiator, they will need to do a binocular display. They will need to do something that has the understanding and the comfort of objects floating in your field of view that are in three-dimensional space, not just a little sort of parked micro display on the corner.
I
That's
know
my
the
opinion.
people they have know what it takes to do it right and understand the science well. So if they don't, with all the might and dollars at Apple, it'd be incredibly disappointing to see anything less. The guys who are talking to you, they know who I am. I know who you are. Not going to mention your name, but please don't let us down.
So here's a more fun one. OpenAI releases Sora 2. It is better than VO3, which was creating all the Star Wars slop on social media. And Sora 2, just like Meta launched last week Vibes, which is a social media feed that allows you to, mix and share, and it's all AI social media. And now Sora is now also, in addition to being an image generator, a text to video generator, it is also now a feed, which is exclusively AI or AI slop, if you will, that is made with Sora. So this is quite amazing for a couple of reasons. I've talked on the show about this before. I'm really starting to feel strongly that AI needs a separate feed, that we shouldn't, if we have AI in our regular social feed, it should be labeled clearly as such, and I should have an option to filter it out. Like, I only want to see real stuff. The guest segment of the AI XR podcast is sponsored by the new Luma series of Vitillo XR glasses. Vitillo is the quiet giant of video smart glasses, preferred by gamers and #1 in US sales. The expanded 52-degree field of view shows me a virtual 152-inch screen. For the best in mobile gaming and entertainment, go to luma.vitillo.com or Amazon and get yourself a pair. Tony Skarred Ghost Vitillo, welcome to the AI XR podcast. I cannot believe that it has been 5 years and we have never had you as a guest.
Yeah, it was actually very surprising to me because, Tony, you and I have done so many recording sessions at various conferences. You would grab me and say, hey, Ted, let's talk about this new offering. Let's talk about something new. And I thought, well, of course he's been on the show, but it turns out you hadn't been on the show. Just in my mind, we've done so many things together that I thought you were on the show. And just before we get started, for our listeners, because it's important to know who Tony is and why he exists in the world in the way that he does. I consider him a legend. I think we're all genuine fans of what you do, and you've built a wider audience. You're an important person in this industry, in this field, because of your take on things, your authenticity, and how you pay attention to what everybody else is trying to figure out. But you just you insert yourself into it in a very authentic, very meaningful way that actually matters to people like us and to our wider community. And it's important.
Ted is a fanboy.
But I am a fanboy. I am a legitimate fanboy. I read your work every week when it comes out. I find it intriguing, and I think what you do, I'll use the word authentic again, you are the authentic voice of our industry, and it's important.
Too many kind words at the same time. My brain is still processing them.
So Tony, maybe you could tell us how you became the Skarred Ghost.
Well, it's a long story. Let's try to make it kind of short.
Well, it can't be that long. You're like 35.
Let's say, I hope there are still many years in Excel for a longer story. But
yeah.
talking about how I became the Skarred Ghost, actually, I studied computer science engineering, I was saying, and with a classmate of mine, actually, after the university, some years after, we wanted to do some kind of startups together. In the beginning, we thought about doing some kind of indie games together, but not VR, was just 2D, whatever. And the fun thing is that while I was reading the blogs about how to become an indie game developer, I noticed for some reason that all the people that were writing articles about that had sort of nicknames. So I thought that it was like the Top Gun pilots, that everyone in the game industry must have a nickname of some sort.
They have a handle. They call it a handle.
Yeah. So I thought for a few days, and then I came out with this Skarred Ghost thing. I still have not explained the reason for this name, but anyway, one day I will do that. I came out with this.
Oh wait, what's the reason? You got it. Okay,
one day I will tell it. For now,
my guess is that you have taken the scars of XR like we all have. That's my that's my prediction.
Is it Scar or Scared?
Say it however you want, but usually I prefer Skarred because Skarred Ghost is a bit weird.
Skarred Ghost is what I say. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I opened a Twitter account. I started writing a few things, but then we gave up on that project for many reasons. People start projects and abandon it every day. Sometime later, we decided we saw the Google glasses basically, and we wanted to do something with that because we're both loving technologies. I've always been fond of like computer vision, augmented reality, this kind of stuff. And so we started doing some sort of startup together about AR, VR. I mean, the startup was called Emotional. At a certain point, a few months later, he started saying, we should be present on social media about what we are doing. And I say, yeah, too lazy, I don't want to share stuff on social media. Why should I do that? Who cares about what I'm writing? And then basically say, yeah, but do that, do like me on Twitter. And I say, yeah, I don't want to. And he says, I don't want to open an account. He says, recover the old one. I say, what, the Skarred Ghost one? That weird nickname? And he said, yes, why not? So I recovered it. And I started writing on social media about XR. And weirdly, I was starting getting some followers. So that's the first step of my journey. And I was very surprised about that because I was writing similar thing with my colleague, but I was getting many more followers. And then a few years later, so the journey completes, and a few years later, we joined an accelerator, and we had 10 minutes with various mentors. One of them was a marketing mentor, and we asked them how to promote our startup. And he said, okay, one of the plans is that, you put yourself as an expert in Excel. So you said there are not super organized experts. He said, you should become the expert. Like Master Yoda, he said this sentence. And after the accelerator, actually, a few days later, I said, okay, let's try it again. I was thinking no one would have cared about reading what I was writing. Actually, people started reading again for I don't know what reason, what I had to say. And from something I started to promote what I was doing very quickly, I started getting the passion about writing, about news, or informing the community. And so it became a separate project. The startup died like 1 year later, but the blog is now on. It's been 9 years now. So next year is 10 years. I guess we have to do a big party about that.
How many readers do you have on all your channels?
It's hard to understand, but let's say on the LinkedIn and X Twitter, I have around 30K followers.
That's a basketball stadium.
Tell us where you're calling us in from, because you're obviously Italian and you have.
Yes.
So what part of Italy are you from? Because
I thought you were from Texas, so I'm
not Texas. Your take, because of the region that you live in, is different than our take in America, and being so connected to Silicon Valley and all that culture. You're away from all that. You built a different culture. But tell us about your origin story. How did this all come about that you were so excited about XR and this became your passion? And why in Italy? What makes it so special in Italy?
Why in Italy? Because I'm born here, let's say.
Yes.
You should ask my parents.
What part of Italy? What part?
I'm from Torino, which
Mm-hmm.
is in the northwest. If people like soccer, it's the city of the Juventus Football Club. If you like sweet food, it's the city, let's say, big city closer to the Nutella cream, the Ferrero
Nutella
factory.
land, yes,
So
yes.
we have pretty good chocolate and hazelnuts here. If you want to come, I can offer you very good chocolate. And yeah, I mean, Europe, we have very different culture. Maybe we'll speak about that here. Let's say in Silicon Valley, there's much more, ambition and vision. Thinking bolder. Here in Europe, you have to be more cost effective and so a bit more practical, which is good, I think, when you mix with other people of different places of the world. You can compensate the pros and the cons. And the reason why I started is, as I said, there was the startup thing. And we're talking about Google Glasses at the time, which, I mean, sorry for everyone at Google listening to them, but it was pretty horrible device. It was a very good prototype, but it was marketed as a product, which was a bit too early, probably. And after we did some tests with that, and we realized that they were unusable to create a product unless you are in very specific fields like logistics, etc. My buddy, he had a plan B. He said, "Oh, I just saw the Oculus Rift DK2," and I said, "What the hell is that?" I have no idea. He said, "Okay, I'm bringing this to the office tomorrow." And so I remember this day he brings this black box. I put it on my head, and I see myself in the Tuscany demo.
Of course. So
After
there's your
the-
Italy connection, right? Yeah.
It's an Italy connection. And I was like, oh wow, I'm in the office, super gray, super sad. Oh, I'm in a super beautiful villa I will never be able to afford in my life. And that's fantastic. It's like magical teleportation. And there was no keyboard. There was super screen door effect. The resolution was terrible. There was no controller. So by today's standard, it was a horrible experience. But at that time, it was magic. And so I fell in love with XR. I mean, it was really love at first sight. And I said, okay, I want to do this in my life. And I mean, I'm still doing that. I don't know if there's been a wise decision, but for sure it's been a fun one.
Well, it's certainly taken a lot longer than any of us had predicted. I was talking in 2018 to people like you and to Bob Scoble and others. We were thinking, okay, Apple 2021, 2022. And, it ended up being several years later. And even people saying 2022, they were like, oh, no, it'll be before then. Of course, we were just talking about Apple, which would be actually a great topic to review with you. We did a panel at South by Southwest in 2024, I believe. And we really took the thing down because it's a device that has a lot of flaws, to say nothing of the fact that it doesn't have a lot of content and it's not super comfortable. But now they've announced a shift back to the glasses that they had deprioritized in favor of the headset 2 years ago. And I guess the glasses are back on. So I wonder what your take is on that whole story.
Well, I was surprised as you today when I read the news. I was like, that's very weird. I don't know what's going to happen. I think, but I see that all the companies in the field are keeping shifting strategies depending on what the others are doing. I mean, Google delayed its headset after the Vision Pro was revealed. Meta is changing strategy like every 2 weeks or something like that. So it's very common. Let's say it's a bit surprising because it's Apple to me. So usually they have their own strategy, they go straight, and even they continued like evolving the Vision Pro now, even if it's not been a big success or whatever, but they bring in huge improvement to the platform. So I was a bit surprised to read that. I'm not surprised of the prioritization of the glasses. I'm surprised of the other rumor is that they are canceling the next Vision Pro, basically. It seems weird to me because they're keeping evolving the software, but the hardware is not ready to be bought by many people. So, in my opinion, they should still release a next version, either a Pro or non-Pro, because otherwise they're wasting a lot of money for a lot of time. Regarding the glasses, actually, I think makes sense because anyway, Meta has proved that there can be a market and they cannot let the competitors go, let's say, and take all the market because maybe if it was Meta alone, could have waited a bit more. But there is also Luxottica that is helping Meta with its distribution network, and that can be dangerous.
So, Tony, I have a question for you. You have, let's say, tried almost everything. VR, AR, many, many things. Let's say 80, 90% of what's there. What is the direction you would wear all day, every day? If you think about the best of everything you tried, is it VR with pass-through? Is it AR in a particular way? Like, what is the thing that you've seen that's the one that you personally would put on in the morning and take off at night every day? Not just like for an hour, for 2 weeks, and you put it in a shelf. Like, you've tried everything. Is there anything that would ever meet that standard? Not that is done yet, but the direction is the one that you actually want to see. Because you're someone that has tried almost everything.
That's a hard question. So I would like to try Orion to put it in the mix, but
Okay.
I tried in every way to ask Meta to try it, but no way. So if someone of Meta is listening to this podcast, please let me try it. But anyway, let's say that I can maybe make a mix of features, like for instance, talking about pass-through. I was impressed by the one by Vario, the one with the cameras, the pass-through cameras, the focus, where your eyes are focusing, because that pass-through is almost perfect. So I was literally like, okay, I can see like with my real eyes. That was crazy. Regarding the weight, of course, something like it can be the big screen beyond or the the Megan X or the new Pimax Streamer. I mean, they're all similar. So something very, very lightweight, super high resolution pastor like the one I've said there.
So you're in the
Uh,
VR direction. You are more lightweight VR pass through. Is that what you'd wear all day?
Depending on what you mean by all day, if I think maybe something related to, let's say, especially indoors or maybe working, gaming, probably yes. I think that the technology is also a bit more further in that field. There is bigger field of view and this stuff. So I can imagine more use of a very lightweight, amazing mixed reality headset for the indoor use. Of course, outdoor, I'm a bit more skeptical about the pass-through thing, especially also for safety reasons.
Would you wear something like the Snap outdoors, like walking around in a city?
Yeah. Or the Ray-Ban Meta display or something like that. I think that even if they're a bit bigger, honestly, as long as maybe the style is acceptable, because still the Snap has some kind of stylish design, I think I can imagine wearing something like
So
that.
you have two modes. You'd have an outdoor device and one at home. And the home one would be a pass-through, lightweight, like with the best attributes of a Vario, but the lightest weight VR that you've tried, like something like that. Like if you were working all day long on something, instead of opening up your notebook computer, would you actually just put that on and no longer buy a computer? Just that.
That's
That's
my
what-
dream. Also, I imagine also in other places, which maybe are not specifically the office, but you can bring that everywhere. And I imagine like when I take long flights, like when I go visiting Charlie in California, it's 11 hours. And sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm tired of seeing the movie. I would like to watch, but my laptop is pretty big and it's very cumbersome to use it on the plane, etc. If there was the possibility of using like big goggles and put it on my face and work there, it would be amazing for me. So
Well, that was my dream on the Vision Pro, because the resolution and the feel of the headset experience was so good that I would take it on plane rides and use it to watch movies and watch passive based media. But the problem was, even reclining back, the comfort dynamic was so difficult that it was just hard to wear it for so long. So you kind of default, right? And I think, as you were kind of contemplating around why is Apple making these decisions, what you said is actually very right. Is like, there's a form factor for a use case that form follows function, right? And the ultimate, like, can you just have one device in this realm that covers everything? I think the answer for a very long time is probably no. Just because today we know that we use mobile phone form factor, we use iPad tablet form factor, and we use PC form factor in a blended life, right? That's what most people that touch technology on a daily basis do, regardless of if they're in the technology business or in any other business. They use 3 or 4 devices across their day, right? So to your question, because you use this so much, what is your most daily use device now? The one that you have sitting by you on your desk that you pop on and you use almost every day? Or is it a couple of them for different
no,
reasons?
I mean the device is the most. I don't have smart glasses yet. I ordered some Brilliant Labs one to experiment with them, and I will see when the Ray-Ban Meta display come here to Italy, buying them or not. So I mostly have VR and MR headsets, and I'm almost using only the Quest lately because I mean it's the
Because
best
ease of use, right?
compromise.
That's, even though it may not be the highest mark on every capability, ease of use, the amount of software, the ability that they've crafted enough of an ecosystem with that device, and the cost is fairly low. So if you break it, you can just get another one, right? You can travel with it. That makes sense to me in terms of your ecosystem. There's exotic, there's mainstream, and then you actually, what you were talking before, you gave me a really good idea, which I think we should incorporate in the podcast. We should do a segment in the podcast called Product or Prototype, because you talked about Google Glass. Roni and I have talked many times about his journey at Magic Leap, where his investors and investor groups essentially forced him to make it a product before it was ready to be a product. It needed to gestate more. It needed to be a prototype longer to find its journey, not to be forced into like this ultimate, how do we make a profit? And I would be interesting to get your take on that. Product or prototype. And should we do it as a weekly segment?
That's a good idea, and I think that also many people that maybe have never worked on this kind of things don't realize the difference between the two. Because before I became really professional in XR and I learned about things also about entrepreneurship and product management, etc. For me, a prototype was like, okay, there is the prototype. Quite soon you can do the product. I mean, it's almost done, and then actually you realize when you start, become a bit more professional that there is a huge difference. It's not a small difference. So I think it's a good idea, and we are seeing also from Meta, the prototypes they've shared lately, they're crazy at SIGGRAPH. I was not there, but I was reading the reviews, and I was really like salivating, wanting to try them, but I know that they're not becoming a product anytime soon. And regarding rush to products, always talking about Meta, for me the Quest Pro was a disaster because, in my opinion, but I don't know the backstory of it, but was a rushed product because they were afraid of Apple probably, and they tried to rush something out of the door when it was not ready. So there is a big difference between these two things, and rushing a product can make a difference between a success or not.
Tony, let me ask you a question. Why this field seems to be more difficult than space flight, more difficult than landing on Mars, more difficult than AI? Like when you say that, like AI is more mainstream, commercial revenues from space and satellite deployment is more mainstream. Why is this field so hard? Because I think I could legitimately say, having been in the field and knowing people from the other sectors, like AI, space flight, Mars landing has actually been easier and costs less money. This field has sucked easily $100 billion only from Meta. If you combine Apple and all others, we're probably 150, 160 billion in at least, and we're still not cracking it. And I think Elon Musk put a couple $100 million into getting SpaceX going. Not 100 billion, a couple $100 million. And then started to win some contracts from the government. What is going on in this field, in your view, that makes this harder than all of those?
Well, this is something I should actually ask to you because you have a bigger experience than me in both fields. But I will try.
I have my view, but I'm more interested in your view. Like, this is a crazy difficult field. It's beat up Apple, it's beat up Meta, it's beat up every single company trying to do it has had an incredibly difficult time.
I don't know if I have to try to answer this very difficult question. It's probably because it seems easy and it is not easy. So probably when you try to land on Mars, you know that it's a crazy thing to do, and you already are prepared for a long journey. And when you see the first, Oculus devices coming out, as a guy, coming out from other technologies, I'm not an optics expert, whatever. It's okay, we're done. We cracked the formula to have VR. We just have to make bigger displays, etc. And actually, it is not like that because you have a lot of things to take into account. And when I read about glasses, especially, I'm like, how the hell they can compress everything into that form factor?
Harder than spaceflight, like quite legitimately. Like we're able to do things in space, commercially deliver satellite trains, put Starlink into space with greater ease than doing this. That is, most of our listeners don't understand the insane engineering problems, but it somehow has bubbled up. And by the way, I think it's humbled. Like, this has humbled Apple, one of the greatest tech engineering companies on the planet. I think easily spent $40 billion on the Vision Pro and got humbled by how difficult this is.
I mean, it's interesting when you think about it as the last hurdle, right? Because if you go back in our lifetimes to what computers, the size of computers that literally filled up rooms, right? That filled up warehouses. And now it's this form factor, right? As kind of, okay, we can squeeze it all down into this. But getting it from this to this, while possible, there's a lot of trade-offs to get it that small. There's one juncture past to get it that small and that functional, right? So we're always fighting that uphill battle of utility versus form factor.
And the laws of physics, when I read the articles about the manufacturers, they all talked about that there are technology breakthroughs they're waiting because now it's literally impossible to make that form factor. So
I'll throw this at you, Tony. I'd love to get your take. I think it's physics on one end, but it's neuroscience on the other. And I think our understanding of physics is better than our understanding of neuroscience. I think we're doing pretty good on the physics, but we just don't understand the brain. And I think consciously or subconsciously, you've tried everything. And I personally think one of the things that would prevent anyone from wearing it all day is it's not only heavy, but there's something just yucky going on. You don't like the feeling of this artificial something in your eyes and your brain all day. That just when it gets that close, it's in you and you just don't like it. And people somehow reject that. That's my thesis. And I think until that is definitively solved in a scalable way, I think everyone's held back. And I think people who think it's only physics will have a very rude awakening. I mean, what's your take on that?
Well, it reminds me, what you said is very interesting because it reminds me when I was speaking, with Jeremy Bailenson, the super genius guy.
Professor at Stanford.
Yeah, I mean, amazing guy. I interviewed him at a certain point. I asked, give me an answer. Is our brain ready to live in a fully mixed reality world? I mean, we're not being wired for that. What is going to happen when humanity reaches to that point? And he basically answered, we don't know. I mean, we're going to discover it in the next year. So that's a very good point. We don't know. There is for sure also we're very aware of the social problems when the people look at you wearing the glasses, especially we all remember the glass holes problem and things like that. But I think that there is also this problem we are not fully aware of what the problems can come when we are going to live in this dreamed metaverse of the all day long mixed reality. I don't know what is going to happen. For sure, maybe someone is going to freak out. I don't know. It's a very good problem to tackle.
Tony, you and I spent a lot of time together during the pandemic, often in VR. And we were talking a lot at that time about the metaverse because we were spending a lot of time in what we thought was maybe a proto metaverse. But now it seems like the metaverse is Roblox. And one of the reasons I think that is that Meta seems to be shifting Horizon to mobile in order to compete with Roblox and try and attract builders and try and somehow ignite a creator economy, which so far they've had to underwrite themselves.
It was beautiful dreaming during COVID and during the metaverse hype about an XR metaverse or stuff like that. I also did with a startup I was working with at the time, amazing VR concerts. It was super fun to do that. And I think it showed
you did a live concert with Jean-Marie Jarre.
Yeah, with Jean-Michel Jarre, we had lots of views and especially a lot of fun. It showed us what's the vision. I mean, what this technology could bring us in the future. Let's say that was, and we thought after the pandemic, something of that would have stayed. And actually, let's say, in my opinion, most of it has faded away to pre-pandemic levels. We are mostly left with, as you said, the mobile or PC worlds like Roblox, for instance, or Fortnite, and of course some of them like Rec Room or VR Chat have VR versions, etc. But like even Rec Room, most of the traffic is from mobile, and I think this is just because there are many more mobile devices than XR headsets, and also you can play with a mobile device everywhere. And on the bus where you go to school, etc. You can just play with your friends on Roblox. With a VR headset, will be a bit more tricky for now. So the market is also bigger, and the VR sector, I think it's a bit stuck now in some quick sense. Especially, my take is that the mixed reality cycle, the new cycle of the Quest 2 could have been mixed reality headsets, like the Quest 3, the Vision Pro, etc. But it never took off for real. It basically made a success. So at the end of the day, it's when you just think as an entrepreneur and not a passionate guy, you see that mobile is a bigger market. So is the way probably you can get some money and some market numbers while you wait for XR to take off again. So I guess Meta had, speaking with the CFOs, the investors, whatever, thought about that. And On one side, I understand it because it's you have to go where the money is. This is what you should do as a company, and not live by ideals. Otherwise, you fire half of your employees. But on the other side, I see a problem in the fact that it's very hard that Meta can manage to steal customers to Roblox. I mean, it's a platform where millions, dozens of millions of people are there every day already with their friends, and it's a proven product, etc., etc. And they're trying to create something, let's say similar, but not so much better than it, and try to get the same customers. I think it's a uphill battle.
Social VR in general has proven to be an incredibly bad business model. VR chat just laid off half its staff, Rec Room laid off half its staff. They haven't figured out how to make money.
Well, they curve out, right? They get an interest bubble. This is kind of a good last question to ask for Tony. In terms of how do you sustain the momentum of things within the virtual reality world, right? They all have kind of these flash in the pan moments where people get excited about something, but it's hard to create sustained user enjoyment and user back, right? I mean, Beat Saber sort of proved it for a little while. I'm sure they've fallen off now, and they were sort of number one and maybe still number one. But I know people aren't doing it as much as this moment in time, right? So things waffle in and out, and they tend to fade out of use case, where Roblox just continues to build more. Although they've had their challenges too, right? And Fortnite has had its challenges too. Entertainment tends to go into highs and lows, right? It's very difficult to sustain it. So maybe there's a Skarred Ghost take on that you've been thinking about.
Well, my take is very similar to yours. I mean, I've seen these ups and downs in all my career, and I think part of it is part of the game. I see that there has been this, I call them the cycles, before there was PCVR, then, oh no, PCVR doesn't succeed, then the Quest, okay, now we found a good form factor, so we rise again, and then we reach like a plateau, and then, okay, cannot evolve again, and so we go down. So we try with mixed reality, but this goes down immediately. Probably now smart glasses are a new up thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that there is people trying different things, and sometimes people, these things that many people try stuck with some part of the market, so there is some hype on that. You're at the maximum, and then you start going down, and then until someone else finds something. So
I agree.
It's a bit unpredictable, because, if you asked me a couple of years ago, are going the Ray-Ban stories to succeed? Probably say, no one is going to buy them. I mean, yeah, maybe some people like me or whatever, but actually the next version, the Ray-Ban Meta, sold very well. So sometimes you don't know what's going to stick with people. We're just all trying. Even, Gorilla Tag. Again, if you showed
Gorilla
me a
Tag's a great
trailer
example, yeah.
of Gorilla Tag, I would say, okay, who is going to play this game?
Tony, it's been great seeing you. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and hopefully we'll have you back again
you need
soon.
you need to come on every 3 or 4 months and give us your latest updates.
You should do a little special segment for us, product or prototype.
Product or prototype.
So once a month or whenever, just record yourself doing product or prototype, and we'll put it on the podcast with
Let's
our
do
regular
it.
show.
I think it's a really good idea, and then we'll chat about it.